Gerald C. Fussell, soon to be retired, is visiting the Philippines. He's been here almost 2 weeks and he feels miserable. Every time he steps out of his 5-star condo rental, he is confronted with dirty shops, poor maintained sidewalks, and litter. The bustling outdoor markets and lively street food vendors are nothing more to him but biohazards. The vendors' smiling faces were only there just to squeeze a few more pesos out of him than what the locals had to pay. Street beggars looking for a handout, traffic, karaoke, wild dogs, roosters crowing were just too much for him. By the end of his 2-week stay, Mr. Fussell was on a plane, happy to be heading home. Those Philippine expat vloggers who raved about the Philippines, nothing but a bunch of liars as far as he was concerned. To him, the Philippines' boots on the ground was nothing more than a colossal waste of time and money. In this episode, we will discover what the Philippines has that the West is missing, and what it'll take for you to have a successful trip when planning to make the Philippines your future home. Gerald is a perfect example of how the West often views countries that are quite different from their own. When most of you travel along the streets of the Philippines for the first time, a lot of you will have a very poor impression of the country. You will be comparing almost everything you see with your home country. In fact, many of you will think that the majority of the people here are living rough. And you will say to yourself, thank God I'm not living like that. Well, what if I told you that your perceptions are somewhat misguided? What if I told you that these folks living in what you'd call poverty might just be happier than your average Joe back home? I know it sounds crazy, right? But stick with me here. You see, some of you've got a big problem. A big one. You are addicted to stuff. And I mean seriously addicted. You are like a junkie looking for your next fix. But instead of drugs, you're hooked on big houses, new cars, the latest cell phone. You name it, you want it. Most of you are drowning in debt trying to get your next hit. People in the West have gone crazy, working 60 hours a week to keep up with their payments. Couples with kids barely see them anymore. And when they do, they are too stressed out to enjoy family time. So what do? Here's a tablet, little Billy. Run along and watch all the TikTok you want. But hey, at least they look good on Facebook, right? This is happening all over the West. People are working their butts off, missing out on life, buying things they don't even need. They have 3 cars parked in the driveway. Why? Because their garage and their basement is already packed with junk. So what do? They rent storage space where the annual cost exceeds the value of the stuff that's in them. It's absolutely crazy. But here's where it gets really messed up. All this chasing after stuff isn't just emptying their bank accounts, it's making their lives miserable. No joke, you have a full-blown mental health crisis on your hands. 1 in 4 of you is already popping pills just to get through the day. Anxiety, depression, you name it, there is a pill for everything. And don't get me started on those greedy doctors with their revolving doors, pushing drugs down your throat. You are their fast track to a life that they also will never be satisfied with. There was a time when people had problems, they would talk it out with their friends, their siblings, their parents, or God forbid, work it out for themselves. Now, the Western population no longer does that. They go for counseling, pop pills, drink, or buy a line of snow to help them get through another freaking day. And it's not just the adults, the kids are suffering too. Parents are so busy trying to give their kids everything they think they need, the best schools, the fanciest toys, the best extracurricular activities. They are forgetting to give them what they really need, their time. Yes, the West prides itself on teaching their children independence, but somewhere along the line, it has backfired. Don't believe me? Listen to the song Cats in the Cradle by Harry Chapman from 1974. This has been going on far too long. There are kids that are already on prescription drugs. Their parents are so overworked and busy that the kids are being parented by social media. As a result, you've got kids stressing about college applications or what gender or pronoun they should identify with before they've even hit puberty. When I was that age, my biggest worry was whether I'd make the baseball team. Some children who grow up now and leave home hardly ever call, message, or visit their parents. Some even block their parents on social media for the smallest of infractions, which in their mind is huge. It's insane. People in the West are angry, stressed out, and buried in debt. They are working at jobs they hate just to buy stuff they don't need to impress people they don't even like. It's a vicious cycle, and it's killing them financially. The only way to end it is to stop trying to keep up with the Joneses and stop caring about what other people see in you and start caring about the people who matter to you the most. How dare they make fun of the person that lives with their parents? What gives them the right to look down on that person? So many of them are far too selfish to even consider letting their own elderly parents live with them. No, they would rather just shove them into some old age home, even when their parents are perfectly capable of caring for themselves. And on top of that, they barely see their siblings outside the holiday seasons. They are also obsessed with chasing that almighty dollar that they've completely forgotten what's truly important in life. I have watched videos of some expats that wanted to go back home to visit family and friends, but they've had to cancel their plans because they were told it's not a good time. We don't have room for you, or we'll get back to you on that. You know what's really interesting? In countries like the Philippines, people might not have much, but they've got something the West has lost: real connections. They actually like hanging out with their families. At home in the evenings, you will find them together in their so-called slum houses, as some of you Westerners call it, but they are actually happy, talking, laughing, or singing together. Can you believe it? Add to that, family members dropping over unannounced are always welcome to stay the night. Families will even share what little food they have with visitors. Taking care of elderly parents isn't seen as a burden to them. It's a source of pride. Can you imagine that? While you're complaining about having to visit mom once a month in a retirement home, they are actually happy to have grandma living with them. Look, I'm not trying to bash the West, and I apologize for a lot of the broad statements I've made here. But when you go to the Philippines, you might only see what's different from your home at first. But I want you to look closer. Watch families spending time together. These are not only the nice things about their culture. It should remind us of what is really important in life. It's not about having big houses or a new phone. It's about having good relationships, enjoying the simple things in life, and doing what makes us truly happy. This doesn't mean the Philippines is perfect or that the West is bad. Both places have good and bad points. If you're thinking about moving to the Philippines or even just visiting, keep an open mind and be ready to see things in a new way. If you're flexible and easygoing, then your transition living in the Philippines will be an easy one. If you're going to be like Mr. Fussell and don't like change, don't move to the Philippines. Thank you for hanging out with me today. My name is Norm. This is God's Corner. Subscribe. Peace out.